Greetings, YouTube. I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember the South African apartheid era. I am. In fact, I own an album that was dedicated to raising funds and awareness about it. It's a pretty good album, actually. I quite enjoyed it. And it was internationally condemned because it was a minority white population controlling a majority black country. It was very much oppression. The black majority had no political power, while the white minority had all of it, not to mention all of the social and fiscal power as well. And I'm having a hard time not seeing that as a parallel to what's going on in Israel with the Palestinians today. It's astounding how people don't want to apply the term apartheid to Israel and to the Palestinians that are being oppressed. Now, I actually haven't spoken a great deal about Israel over the years. There are certain things that fall into the category of unpopular opinions, and this is one of mine. Because while I am most definitely against anti-Semitism, and I want all the Jewish people of the world to have long and happy lives, I'm also against Islamophobia and the oppression of people because of the fact that they are Muslim. I'm opposed to fascist states, and there's no way of getting around the fact that the Israeli government is a fascist state. And while I may want Israeli people to be able to continue to exist, I also want Palestinian people to continue to exist. And I want the Israeli government to stop attempting to make the Palestinian people cease to exist. Because currently, that's what's going on with the Gaza Strip. They have kettled an entire Palestinian population and are slowly trying to wipe them off the face of the earth. They're starving them out, literally, by there's not enough food in the Gaza Strip. There's not enough water in the Gaza Strip. There's not enough medicine in the Gaza Strip. They've just destroyed the only COVID testing site in the entire Gaza Strip. There's not enough money there to give for the infrastructure that is needed to keep the Gaza Strip functioning. They are trying to wipe the Palestinians out of the Gaza Strip with every means, passive and aggressive. For example, destroying 500 buildings, and now there are thousands of homeless people, wiping out all the medical facilities they could find a target reticle on. The Israeli government is morally bankrupt. And anyone who takes the stance that, well, Israel deserves to defend itself, the Palestinian people have had their nation and their land stolen from them. All right? The Israeli nation of Israel, it sits on stolen land, just like Australian government sits on stolen land, just like the Canadian government sits on stolen land, just like the United States of America sits on stolen land. Except right now, we're watching it happen live on television, with, until just a few days ago, bombs falling from the sky, missiles wiping out, for example, a building where independent journalists were. What a coincidence that would really help the Israeli government if suddenly the journalists didn't have a headquarters anymore. Now again, I am opposed to the methods that Hamas uses, but I understand them. What would you do if someone stole your land and the only way you could get back at them and maybe get the world to listen to the fact that someone's stolen your land is by launching rockets? And remember that in the first 36 hours of the conflict, the Israelis killed more people in the Gaza Strip than all the Hamas rockets have in the last decade in Israel. So they're not equal. Most people in the Gaza Strip have rocks, whereas Israel is a nuclear power. This is not equal footing. And stop listening to people who tell you it is equal footing. That's bullshit. So what do I want? Not one more goddamn U.S. cent going to Israel. No funding. No military sales. No more subsidies. Complete boycott of all Israeli products. Seizing all assets in the United States belonging to Israelis. We shut everything down to Israel. Like an airlock. And it stays that way until every single Israeli citizen currently sitting on Palestinian land leaves. All of them. Until the Gaza Strip is free completely. That is the minimum that should open up the negotiations to maybe letting Israel having some access to the U.S. markets, to the U.S. funds. Now, I understand why the United States is involved in Israel. Politically, we feel incredibly frigging guilty because we didn't do what we should have done during the 30s and 40s to prevent the Holocaust. But we failed miserably, just like the rest of Europe did. We didn't take in the Jewish refugees that the Germans didn't want because no one would take them because of anti-Semitism. The Germans just decided on their final solution. But that wasn't their first solution. The first solution was to get them out. But no one would take them in. And we need militarily, we want an ally in that section of the world. We want a place that is considered a friend, preferably a friend with nuclear missiles. How convenient. So I understand why the United States is involved in the area, but I want it to stop. I can't undo all the wrongs of the world, but I can do what I am capable of and ask people that maybe we should stop doing the wrongs right now, and maybe we should stop doing the wrongs tomorrow. That's not much of an ask in my book. We can't change the past, but we can do something about here, and we can do something about tomorrow. And the United States government isn't going to do a damn thing. Why? Because the current administration is moderate Republicans, and they see their more political and military and fiscal advantage to staying right where we are and backing a fascist government that we find convenient. And the Israeli people will just continue on with their lives, and the Palestinians won't get that option, now will they?